Genesis 26, 1 through 35. Devotional focus verse. And he removed from thence and digged another well, and for that they strove not. And he called the name of it Rehoboth. And he said, For now the Lord hath made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land. Genesis 26:22. Several years ago, I built a new house for our family. My wife and I were excited about our new home, but the neighbors on one side of the property were not so enthusiastic about our construction project. It seemed that every time they talked to us, it was to complain about something. After we finished our house, the man next door complained that we had cracked his driveway with one of the dump trucks. He wanted us to pay for a new driveway. I could see that the cracks were old and had not resulted from anything we did, but I told him we would call in a professional to take a look. Later, the same neighbor complained that our fence posts were too close to the property line. We had already set the posts in concrete, but I told him we would move our posts anyway. After all, we were new to the neighborhood and wanted to get along with everyone. Another time, he complained about our sprinkler system because when the wind blew, some of the mist floated onto their car. That time, I had to ask him to repeat the problem. I could not quite believe I heard right the first time. However, I told him it was no problem and that I would adjust the sprinkler. In each case, my wife and I could have stood up for our rights, but it was our desire to live the gospel in front of these neighbors. Then one summer, the man said, I need to talk to you. I expected another complaint, but instead he told me that the Lord had been speaking to his heart. He apologized for causing trouble and said he wanted to have a good relationship with us. I thanked God that he had helped us to be patient during our interactions with this neighbor. Like Isaac in today's text, all of us will face times when people make unreasonable demands or behave unkindly toward us. Sometimes it may be a direct attack on our Christianity. In other cases, it may be simply behavior that is annoying. There's not much we can do to change the conduct of others. However, like Isaac, we have a choice in how we react. Isaac modeled a godly response when he gave up his right to the wells his father had dug and moved on in order to keep peace with the neighboring tribes. Will we follow his example? In the interest of living peaceably with others, are we willing to give up our personal rights? May we learn a lesson from Isaac and ask God for the wisdom to know how to respond rightly. He can give us the grace to be a peacemaker. Background information. Today's chapter gives details of Isaac's life and of God's assurance to him of the promises given to Abraham. Because of a famine, Isaac and his household relocated to Gerar, a Philistine town that today is a district in south-central Israel. It is possible that there was 100 years between the famine in Abraham's time, see Genesis 12:10, and this one. Abimelech is thought to have been a title for Philistine rulers, so this may have been a descendant of the king which Abraham had dealt with. God was emphatic that Isaac was not to go to Egypt. He stated that obedience would result in his seed being as the stars of heaven and a blessing to all the nations of the earth. This was the first recorded occasion when God directly gave Isaac these promises which had initially been given to Abraham. Out of fear for his life, Isaac hid the fact that Rebekah was his wife. He said that she was his sister. When Abimelech observed unexpected behavior for a brother-sister relationship, he challenged Isaac for the full truth and then chastised him. As God had promised, he blessed Isaac, giving him abundant crops and many flocks, herds, and servants. Consequently, the Philistines were afraid of him and plugged his wells. Water was a critical and precious commodity in the semi-desert, So Abimelech made it clear to Isaac that he was to move on and not settle down in that area. The strife continued even though Isaac relocated. This is indicated by the names Isaac used for the wells. Esek means strife, and Sitnah means feud. Even though Abraham had originally dug these wells, Isaac gave up his rights, moved again, and dug another well. Because there was no contention about this well, Isaac called it Rehoboth, which means room. In Beersheba, God appeared to Isaac and restated the Abrahamic promises. Verse 25 contains the first biblical record of Isaac making an altar. In verses 26 through 33, Abimelech, his army captain Phicol was probably a title rather than a name, and his friend Ahazeth came seeking a treaty because Isaac had become so great. Isaac obliged them, and when his servants found water that same day, he called the well Sheba, which means oath. Verses 34 and 35 relate how Esau disregarded his godly parents and married Hittite women. Beri and Elon, his father-in-laws, are thought to have been influential men in the Canaanite society, and Esau may have become acquainted with them while he was hunting. Esau demonstrated no concern for Isaac and Rebekah's feelings or values, but followed his own desires. Conclusion: God is pleased and honored when we make every effort to live peaceably with those about us.
Genesis chapter 26. And there was a famine in the land, beside the first famine that was in the days of Abraham. And Isaac went unto Abimelech king of the Philistines unto Gerar. And the Lord appeared unto him, and said, Go not down into Egypt, dwell in the land which I shall tell thee of. Sojourn in this land, and I will be with thee, and will bless thee, for unto thee, and unto thy seed, I will give all these countries, and I will perform the oath which I swear unto Abraham thy father. And I will make thy seed to multiply as the stars of heaven, and will give unto thy seed all these countries, and in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed. Because that Abraham obeyed my voice, and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. And Isaac dwelt in Gerar. And the men of the place asked him of his wife, and he said, She is my sister, for he feared to say, She is my wife, lest, said he, the men of the place should kill me for Rebekah, because she was fair to look upon. And it came to pass, when he had been there a long time, that Abimelech king of the Philistines looked out at a window, and saw, and, behold, Isaac was sporting with Rebekah his wife. And Abimelech called Isaac, and said, Behold, of a surety she is thy wife, and how saidst thou, She is my sister? And Isaac said unto him, Because I said, Lest I die for her. And Abimelech said, What is this thou hast done unto us? One of the people might lightly have lain with thy wife, and thou shouldest have brought guiltiness upon us. And Abimelech charged all his people, saying, He that toucheth this man or his wife shall surely be put to death. Then Isaac sowed in that land, and received in the same year an hundredfold, and the Lord blessed him. And the man waxed great, and went forward, and grew until he became very great. For he had possession of flocks, and possession of herds, and great store of servants, and the Philistines envied him. For all the wells which his father's servants had digged in the days of Abraham his father, the Philistines had stopped them, and filled them with earth. And Abimelech said unto Isaac, Go from us, for thou art much mightier than we. And Isaac departed thence, and pitched his tent in the valley of Gerar, and dwelt there. And Isaac digged again the wells of water, which they had digged in the days of Abraham his father, for the Philistines had stopped them after the death of Abraham, and he called their names after the names by which his father had called them. And Isaac's servants digged in the valley, and found there a well of springing water. And the herdmen of Gerar did strive with Isaac's herdmen, saying, The water is ours, and he called the name of the well Esek, because they strove with him. And they digged another well, and strove for that also, and he called the name of it Sitnah. And he removed from thence, and digged another well, and for that they strove not, and he called the name of it Rehoboth, and he said, For now the Lord hath made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land. And he went up from thence to Beersheba. And the Lord appeared unto him the same night, and said, I am the God of Abraham thy father, fear not, for I am with thee, and will bless thee, and multiply thy seed for my servant Abraham's sake. And he builded an altar there, and called upon the name of the Lord, and pitched his tent there, and there Isaac's servants digged a well. Then Abimelech went to him from Gerar, and Ahuzzath one of his friends, and Phicol the chief captain of his army. And Isaac said unto them, Wherefore come ye to me, seeing ye hate me, and have sent me away from you? And they said, We saw certainly that the Lord was with thee, and we said, Let there be now an oath betwixt us, even betwixt us and thee, and let us make a covenant with thee. That thou wilt do us no hurt, as we have not touched thee, and as we have done unto thee nothing but good, and have sent thee away in peace, thou art now the blessed of the Lord. And he made them a feast, and they did eat and drink. And they rose up betimes in the morning, and sware one to another, and Isaac sent them away, and they departed from him in peace. And it came to pass the same day, that Isaac's servants came, and told him concerning the well which they had digged, and said unto him, We have found water. And he called it Sheba, therefore the name of the city is Beersheba unto this day. And Esau was 40 years old when he took to wife Judith the daughter of Beri the Hittite, and Bashemath the daughter of Elon the Hittite, which were a grief of mind unto Isaac and to Rebekah.